The monitoring station hung in the darkness like a silver eye, watching over 1,000 star systems. Inside, Junior Observer Tellus pressed his slender fingers against the console, his blue skin pale with worry. The distress signal screamed through the speakers again, raw and desperate. "How long until they fall?" asked his supervisor, Commander Yelesh. Her voice was tired. They had seen this before. 2 days, maybe 3 if they're lucky. Tellus turned off the sound. The screaming was too much to bear. "HFY doesn't have weapons. They're just miners. The Voran swarm will take everything." The Voran swarm. Even the name made species across the galaxy afraid. They were like locusts made of metal and hate, consuming world after world. The hive mind controlled millions of drones, and they never stopped, never showed mercy, never grew tired. Commander Yalish looked at the star map floating in the air between them. HFY was a small yellow dot, far from any coalition fleet. "Send their distress call to all nearby ships. Maybe someone will help." But both of them knew the truth. No one would come. It was too far, too dangerous. The Voran swarm killed everything that challenged them. HFY would become another dead world, another story whispered in fear across the stars. The signal went out into the black ocean of space, carrying the desperate hope of 40,000 people who had no idea they had already been abandoned. Across the galaxy, most ships ignored it. Pirates thought it was a trap. Merchants changed course to avoid the danger. Military vessels checked their orders and kept moving. The Coalition Council met in their great chamber and voted. Intervention was too risky. They would remember HFY in their prayers, but there was one ship that heard the call and did not look away. The Perseverance cut through the fabric of space, its massive engines pushing it toward a new world that would become humanity's 4th colony beyond Earth. Inside, 3,000 people lived in the rotating sections, growing food, raising children, and dreaming of the planet they would build together. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, studying reports, when her communications officer spoke up. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal. It's bad." Sarah listened to the translation. Words of fear, of homes burning, of children crying. The voice begged anyone listening to help them. She felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Where is it coming from?" "HFY. It's 3 days off our course." "Ma'am, I'm also detecting another signal. It's from something called the Aurelian Coalition. They're warning all ships to stay away. There's something called a Voran swarm attack in progress." Sarah stood up. Her crew watched her, waiting. They all knew that look on her face. She was making a decision that would change everything. "Change course. Take us to HFY." Her first officer, Commander Liu, stepped closer. His voice was quiet. "Captain, we're a colony ship. We have families aboard, children. This coalition is warning everyone away for a reason." "I know what we are," Sarah said. Her voice was steady and calm. "But we're also human, and humans don't ignore people who are dying when we can do something about it. We don't even know these aliens. We've never made contact with them before." Sarah looked at the star map, at the small dot that was HFY. Somewhere on that world, people were looking at the sky and praying for rescue. "They called for help, Commander. That's all I need to know. Prepare the Marines. Wake up everyone in the military section, and somebody send a message to this coalition. Tell them humanity is responding to the distress call." The bridge crew moved fast. They had trained for this, though they hoped they would never need to. The Perseverance was built after Earth's terrible unification wars, when humanity had almost destroyed itself. Every colony ship carried weapons and soldiers now, not for conquest, but for protection. Never again would humans be helpless. In the CO, military section, men and women climbed out of sleep pods and checked their armor. They had been colonists and farmers and teachers once, but Earth's history had taught them that peace required the ability to defend it. They strapped on powered armor that could survive almost anything. They loaded weapons that could punch through steel. They prepared to drop into a battle for people they had never met. 2 hours later, the Coalition monitoring station received a response to their warning. It was short and in a language their computers struggled to translate. "We are humans from Earth. We have received the distress call from HFY. We are going to help them. You can join us or get out of our way. Commander Yalish stared at the message. What are humans? Check the database. Tellus searched through thousands of known species. Nothing, they're not in our records, they must be from an uncontacted world. They're flying into a Voran swarm attack zone. They're going to die. Yalish felt sick. First HFY, now these mysterious humans. Should we send ships to stop them? Yalish thought about it, then shook her head. No. Send observers. If these humans want to throw their lives away, at least we should record it. Maybe their sacrifice will mean something. The Perseverance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the HFY system. Immediately, alarms screamed. Voran ships filled the space around the planet like angry insects. The surface below was burning. Sarah Chen stood on her bridge and watched the enemy swarm turn toward them. 3,000 humans against an army that had destroyed dozens of worlds. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. Launch all shuttles, get our people down there. Let's show this galaxy what humans do when someone needs help. The battle was about to begin. The Voran swarm detected the new ship and calculated instantly. One vessel. Unknown design. No weapons fire yet. Classification prey. Priority. Low threat. They were wrong. The Perseverance's launch bays opened like the mouth of a beast. 30 heavy shuttles burst out, engines screaming as they dove toward the burning planet below. Each shuttle carried 100 Marines in full combat armor. Behind them, the colony ship's defensive weapons came online and began firing at any Voran drone that came too close. On the Coalition monitoring station, Junior Observer Tellus watched his screen with his mouth hanging open. Commander, they're attacking. These humans are actually attacking. Get me visual on those shuttles. I want to see what we're dealing with. The image appeared, showing the human craft cutting through space at speeds that made Tellus feel sick just watching. They moved with sharp, aggressive turns that would crush most species under the acceleration forces. Those movements would kill an Aurelian. The G-forces alone would turn our internal organs to liquid. Commander Yalish leaned forward, studying the strange aliens piloting those ships. They were bipedal, with flat faces and forward-facing eyes. Predator eyes. What kind of world produces creatures that can survive that kind of punishment? They were about to find out. The first shuttle hit atmosphere like a meteor. Plasma flames wrapping around its hull. Voran fighters swarmed it, firing energy weapons that could melt through most armor. The shuttle's shields flared and held, then it fired back. The human weapons were primitive by Coalition standards, just metal projectiles fired at high speed. But they worked. Voran drones exploded as tungsten rounds tore through them. The shuttle punched through the enemy formation and kept falling toward the surface. On the ground, the Kashet people huddled in their last fortress. They were a gentle species with long ears and soft gray fur covering their bodies. They had built their civilization on mining and art, never expecting to need weapons. Now their beautiful cities were burning. Elder Priest Makthar watched the sky through a cracked window. More Voran ships were landing, disgorging their soldiers. His people had maybe hours left. He had sent the distress call 3 days ago, but no one had answered. They would die here, forgotten by a galaxy too afraid to help. Then the sky caught fire. The human shuttles came down in a thunderous landing pattern, forming a protective circle around the Kashet fortress. Rear ramps dropped open and the Marines poured out, weapons ready. They moved with frightening speed and precision, each one knowing exactly where to go. Sergeant Marcus Webb checked his squad's positions on his helmet display. His power armor made him look like a walking tank, covered in plates that could stop almost anything. He carried a rifle that could punch through concrete and a combat knife strapped to his chest. Behind him, his 20 Marines took cover and prepared for contact. "Hostiles incoming, 200 meters," reported Corporal Yamamoto. "Looks like we pissed them off." Marcus grinned inside his helmet. "Good, let them come. First squad, set up the heavy guns. Second squad, prepare grenades. Show these bugs what humans do to home invaders." The Voran soldiers rushed forward in perfect coordination, controlled by the hive mind. They didn't fear death because they weren't truly individuals. They were parts of a greater whole, and losing a few parts meant nothing. They had never fought humans before. The human weapons opened fire with a sound like thunder. Voran soldiers fell by the dozens. Their armor no match for weapons designed on a death world where everything tried to kill you. When the enemy got closer, the humans threw grenades that created massive explosions. When they got even closer, the humans met them with knives and powered fists. On the monitoring station, Tellus watched in horror and amazement. They're fighting hand to hand. Why would anyone choose to fight in close combat? Because they can, Commander Yalish whispered. She was watching a human marine grab a Voran soldier and literally tear it apart with his armored hands. Look at their strength. Look at their speed. What kind of evolution creates something like this? A junior analyst pulled up data from the scans. Commander, I have preliminary information on their home world. It's a Class 12 death world. The command center went silent. Class 12 was almost unheard of. It meant a planet so hostile that most species would die within hours of landing. Go on, Yalish said quietly. Gravity is 1.2 times coalition standard. Atmosphere is 21% oxygen, which is highly corrosive and supports rapid combustion. The planet has active weather systems that can produce winds over 200 kilometers per hour. Tectonic activity creates constant earthquakes, and according to their biosphere data, 90% of life forms are predatory in nature. Tellus felt dizzy. They evolved as predators on a world trying to kill them every day. No wonder they're so strong. No wonder they don't fear the Voran. Inside the Kashet fortress, a young Kashet girl named Pyrrha peeked through a crack in the wall. She saw the strange aliens fighting the monsters that had destroyed her home. One of them, the big one with markings on his armor, fought like something from the old stories. He moved so fast, and when the monsters hit him, he just kept fighting. Then she saw him get hit by a plasma blast that melted through his armor. He fell to one knee, smoke rising from his side. Pyrrha felt tears in her eyes. The hero was dying, but Marcus didn't die. He reached to his belt and pulled out a small device. He pressed it against his neck, and Pyrrha saw his body jerk as chemicals flooded his system. Combat stimulants made for human physiology. Things that would kill most other species but just made humans stronger for a short time. Marcus stood back up, switched his rifle to his other hand, and kept firing. His squad rallied around him, laying down covering fire. They pushed the Voran back meter by meter, their battle cries echoing across the burning city. Within 2 hours of landing, the humans had established a defensive perimeter around the main Kashet settlement. They set up automated guns, deployed shields, and dug fighting positions. They moved with the efficiency of people who had done this 1,000 times before. Captain Chen landed with the command shuttle and found Marcus directing his Marines. Sergeant, report. Perimeter secure, Captain. We've got maybe 2,000 Kashet civilians in the fortress. Wounded are being moved to our medical area. Enemy pulled back to regroup, but they'll be back. Casualties? 12 wounded, none critical. The armor held up good. Marcus looked at the fortress. Captain, these people are miners and artists. They never had a chance against the swarm. Sarah nodded. She had seen the Kashet children watching from the windows, their large eyes filled with fear and hope. Then we make sure they survive. Hold this line, Sergeant. Yes, ma'am. Marcus paused. Captain, why are we doing this? We don't know these people. This isn't our fight. Sarah looked at him steadily. A child called for help, Marcus. That's all the reason we need. As night fell on Kashet 4, Pyrrha found the courage to approach one of the human guards. Marcus looked down at the small alien girl with the big eyes and soft fur. She was shaking with fear, but she still came forward. Why? She asked in broken coalition standard language. Why you come? Marcus knelt down so he was at her level. His armor made him look like a monster, but his voice was gentle. Because you called for help, little one. And where humans come from, we don't leave people behind. Pyrrha started to cry, and Marcus stayed there with her until her mother came to take her away. High above, in orbit, the Voran hive mind analyzed the new threat. These humans were more dangerous than calculated. It sent a signal across space calling for more ships, more soldiers. This world was now a priority target. The humans would be destroyed. The Aurelian Coalition Council chamber was older than most civilizations. Representatives from 30 different species gathered in the great circular room, their forms ranging from gas clouds to crystalline beings to creatures that looked almost like trees. They all watched the same holographic display floating in the center of the chamber. They were watching humans fight. High Counselor Verath, an elderly Aurelian whose blue skin had faded to pale silver with age, spoke first. This is unprecedented. A completely unknown species has engaged in military action within Coalition space without permission or even introduction. "They're not military," said Ambassador Threll, a insectoid being from Chitaria. Her translator made her clicking sounds into words. "Our scans show that vessel is a colony ship. Those are civilians fighting down there." "Civilians?" Vareth looked back at the display. A human soldier was carrying a wounded Cachette child to safety while firing his weapon with one hand. "If those are civilians, what are their actual soldiers like?" The display shifted to show new data. A Coalition science team had been analyzing every scrap of information they could gather about Earth and its inhabitants. What they found was terrifying. Dr. Suresh, a floating jellyfish-like being in a containment suit, presented the findings. His voice bubbled through his translator. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. To put that in perspective, only 0.03% of all known planets fall into that category. The gravity alone would cripple most of our species. The atmospheric oxygen content causes rapid oxidation of metals and supports combustion at frightening rates. He brought up images of Earth's predators. Lions hunting in packs, sharks cutting through water, bears that could tear apart vehicles. Humans evolved alongside these creatures. They survived by becoming endurance predators. They can run for days without stopping, tracking prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Their bodies regulate temperature through liquid secretion, allowing them to operate in extreme heat. They have exceptional pattern recognition and can throw objects with deadly accuracy, a skill almost unique in the galaxy. Another counselor, a methane-breathing species that looked like living shadow, spoke up. This explains their combat capability, but not their motivation. Why would they risk themselves for the Cachette? They have no alliance, no treaty, no trade relationship. According to our observers, they had never even heard of Cachette 4 before receiving the distress call. No one had an answer. On the surface of Cachette 4, the battle entered its third day. The humans had turned the area around the fortress into a killing field. Any Voran that approached was met with devastating fire. But the swarm had adapted, sending waves of drones to probe for weaknesses, testing the human defenses. Dr. Yuki Tanaka had not slept in 72 hours. The medical bay was filled with wounded, both human and Cachette. Her hands moved with practiced precision as she treated a Cachette miner who had been caught in an explosion. The alien's biology was different from human, but the basics were the same. Stop the bleeding, stabilize the patient, save the life. "Doctor, we have 3 more incoming," called her assistant, Corporal Brooks. 2 Cachette, 1 human. The human took shrapnel to the leg. "Bring them in." Yuki finished sealing the wound on her current patient and moved to the next bed. She didn't care if they were human or alien. Pain was pain, fear was fear, and everyone deserved someone to fight for their life. A young Cachette medic named Soleth watched the human doctor work. He had studied medicine for years, but he had never seen anyone work with such intensity and focus. "How do you keep going?" he asked in careful Coalition standard. Yuki looked up at him, her eyes red from exhaustion. "Because they need me. That's enough." Soleth thought about his own people who valued rest and balance and taking time to appreciate beauty. These humans were different. They pushed themselves past all reasonable limits. They fought when anyone else would surrender. They saved lives when they should be saving their own. "You are very strange," Soleth said softly. Yuki smiled. "You're not the first to say that. Now hand me that coagulant. We're losing time." In the command center, Captain Chen studied the tactical displays. The Voran were regrouping for another assault. Her Marines were exhausted. Ammunition was running low. The Perseverance in orbit had already fought off 3 attacks on the ship itself. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Coalition," reported her communications officer. "They want to talk to you." Sarah straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The holographic image of High Counselor Verath appeared. He looked at Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Captain Chen, I am High Counselor Verath of the Aurelian Coalition. Your actions have created quite a situation. Counselor, are you here to help or complain?" Verath blinked, surprised by her directness. "I need to understand. Why are you doing this? You are colonists. You have families on your ship, children. Yet you're fighting a war for people you don't know in a place you have no claim to." Sarah looked at the display showing Cachette-FI's surface. She could see her people fighting, dying, sacrificing everything. Counselor, on Earth we have thousands of languages, different cultures, different beliefs, different ways of seeing the universe. But we learned something during our darkest time when we almost destroyed ourselves. We learned that there are some things that matter more than borders or species or differences. And what is that? That when someone calls for help, you answer. Not because you'll get something from it, not because they're the same as you, but because it's the right thing to do. Sarah leaned forward. Your coalition received the same distress call we did. You had ships closer than us. You had the resources to help. But you did nothing. You let those people face extinction alone. We may be from a death world, Counselor, but at least we haven't lost our humanity. The council chamber was silent. Vareth felt shame burn through him. She was right. They had abandoned the cachette because it was too risky, too expensive, too dangerous. They had made the practical choice. These humans had made the moral one. What do you need? Vareth asked quietly. Medical supplies, food, and ammunition. We're going to hold this line, but we need support. And if the coalition sends ships to help? Sarah smiled grimly. Then we'll be happy to fight beside you. The transmission ended. Vareth turned to the council. We have been shamed by primitives from an uncontacted world. They crossed space to save people we chose to abandon. I motion that we send immediate military support to Cacheta 4. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. For the first time in coalition history, they would fight alongside a species they had never officially met. On Cachette 4, Marcus and his squad prepared for the next assault. They had been fighting for 3 days straight, catching sleep in shifts, eating ration bars between firefights. They were tired, hurt, and running low on everything. But when Pyrrha and the other Cachette children brought them water and food scavenged from the ruins, when the Cachette elders thanked them with tears in their eyes, Marcus knew why they were here. Sergeant Webb, Captain Chen's voice came through his helmet. Coalition forces are en route. We just need to hold for another 12 hours. We can do 12 hours standing on our heads, Captain. Marcus looked at his squad. They were all beat up, all exhausted. But they were all still standing. You hear that, Marines? The cavalry is coming. We just need to make sure there's something left to save when they get here. Ura, they shouted back. Across the galaxy, species watched the humans and asked themselves questions they had never considered before. What did it mean to be civilized? Was it about technology and culture and art? Or was it about standing up when someone needed you, even when it cost you everything? The humans were forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. And high above Cachette 4, sensors detected new ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Lots of ships. The Voran Swarm's main battle fleet had arrived. 200 warships against one colony ship and a handful of defenders. The real battle was about to begin. The sensors on the Perseverance screamed warnings as 200 Voran warships materialized in orbit around Cachette 4. On the bridge, Captain Chen watched the tactical display light up with hostile contacts. Her crew fell silent, understanding what this meant. They were going to die here. Captain, said Commander Liu quietly, we should evacuate. Get everyone back on the ship and jump to FTL before they box us in. We tried. No one can say we didn't try. Sarah looked at the planet below, where her Marines were still fighting, where Cachette families huddled in the ruins praying for salvation. No, we hold, Captain. I said we hold. Sarah turned to her crew. I know what I'm asking. I know we're just a colony ship. I know we have families aboard, people who signed up to build a new world, not fight a war. But if we run now, everyone down there dies. Every single one of them. Can you live with that? The bridge crew looked at each other. Then, one by one, they returned to their stations. Weapons ready, Captain, said the tactical officer. Engineering reports all power to shields, said another. Communications online. Waiting for orders. Sarah felt pride swell in her chest. These were good people. Brave people. Send a message to those Voran ships. Tell them that humanity claims protection over Cachette 4. Any attack on the planet will be considered an act of war against Earth. Captain, Earth doesn't even know we're here. We're months away from any support. They don't know that. Send the message. On the surface, Marcus received the situation update from his helmet display. 200 ships. He looked at his squad, at the Cachette defenders who had been learning human tactics, at the fortress walls that they had all bled to protect. Well, that's just rude, he said. His squad laughed. It was the kind of laughter soldiers make when they know they're about to die but refuse to show fear. Listen up. Command says the coalition is sending help, but it'll take time. So here's what we do. We make these Vorin regret ever coming to this world. We show them what humans do when someone threatens people under our protection. How do we fight 200 ships, Sarge? Asked Corporal Yamamoto. Marcus grinned. We don't fight the ships. We fight the bastards they send down here. And we make it so expensive in blood that they give up. Remember your training? Humans are endurance predators. We don't have to win fast. We just have to outlast them. He turned to Solith, the Kashet medic who had been watching the humans with amazement. You know these mines better than anyone. Show us the tunnels. Show us every cave, every passage, every place we can use. Solith understood immediately. Guerrilla warfare. Hit and fade. Use the planet itself as a weapon. Now you're thinking like a human. The Vorin hive mind analyzed the situation. The human ship was outnumbered and outgunned. The ground forces were isolated. Victory was inevitable. It sent a communication toward the Perseverance, transmitted in Coalition Standard. Human vessel. You are surrounded. Surrender the planet and depart. You will be allowed to leave unharmed. Captain Chen's response was broadcast not just to the Vorin, but across every Coalition frequency. She wanted the galaxy to hear this. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth colony ship Perseverance. I speak for humanity, and for the 3,000 souls aboard this vessel. We have received your demand and I have a response. She paused, making sure every word was recorded. Humanity doesn't abandon those who need us. The Kashet people called for help and we answered. We will continue to protect them until either they are safe or every single human on this planet is dead. If you want this world, you'll have to go through every last one of us. And I promise you we will make you pay for every meter of ground. Then she closed the channel and turned to her crew. Now let's show them that humans aren't just good at making promises. We're good at keeping them too. The battle began. The Vorin fleet opened fire on the Perseverance. The colony ship's shields flared under the assault, absorbing energy that would have vaporized most vessels. But shields can only take so much. Bit by bit, they began to fail. On the ground, Vorin dropships began landing by the hundreds. They thought overwhelming numbers would break the human defense. They didn't understand what they were facing. Marcus led his Marines into the mining tunnels under the Kashet city. The Kashet miners had shown them passages that went for kilometers underground, a maze that only locals knew. The humans placed explosives at key junctions and waited. When the Vorin soldiers marched into the city, they found it empty. No defenders. No resistance. They spread out to search, and that's when the humans struck. Tunnels collapsed, dropping Vorin soldiers into deep shafts. Explosives tore through their formations. Human Marines appeared from hidden passages, fired their weapons, and vanished back into the darkness before the Vorin could respond. It was chaos, brutal and efficient. The Vorin hive mind had never encountered this kind of warfare. It was used to fighting species that valued honor and direct combat. Humans fought to win, and they used every dirty trick their violent history had taught them. In one section of the mines, Corporal Yamamoto and her team discovered that Kashet-FI's atmosphere had high concentrations of methane gas in certain caverns. She rigged explosives to rupture the gas pockets when Voran soldiers passed through. The resulting fireball consumed an entire battalion. In another area, human engineers worked with Kashet mechanics to convert mining equipment into improvised weapons. Heavy drilling machines became battering rams. Ore crushers became traps. Even the magnetic rail systems used to move materials were turned into weapons that could launch metal debris at supersonic speeds. The Kashet people watched in amazement. They had thought of their mining equipment as tools of peace and industry. The humans saw them as weapons waiting to be used. Elder Priest Makthar approached Captain Chen in the command center. Your people fight with such ferocity, but I also see your medics treating our wounded before your own. Your soldiers sharing their rations with our children. How can you be so violent and so kind at the same time? Sarah looked at the old priest. Because Earth taught us that life is brutal and beautiful at the same time. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight, yes, but we also learned that survival means protecting each other. The strong defend the weak. The healthy care for the sick. We're dangerous because we had to be. We're compassionate because we chose to be. I do not understand your species, Makthar said softly. Neither do we sometimes, but we're here and we're not leaving. Above the planet, the Perseverance was dying. Fires burned in multiple sections. The shields were down. Crew members worked desperately to keep life support running. But still the ship fought. its weapons tearing into any Voran vessel that came too close. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Rodriguez diverted power from non-essential systems to weapons. "Captain, I can give you one more big shot, but it'll burn out the main cannon. We won't get a second chance. Target their command ship, the big one in the center of their formation. Ma'am, even if we hit it, they'll tear us apart immediately after." "I know. Do it anyway." The Perseverance's main weapon, designed to clear debris from colony sites, charged up for the last time. It fired a lance of coherent energy that cut through space and struck the Voran command vessel. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then the Voran fleet opened fire with everything they had. The Perseverance shuddered under the assault, armor peeling away, systems failing. On the bridge, Sarah gripped her chair as the ship died around her. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the planet. Get the children to the escape pods. Captain, the pods won't make it through that fire. Then we make them a path. Helm, take us down full burn, right into their formation." Commander Liu understood. "You're going to ram them. If we're going to die, we take as many of them with us as we can." Sarah opened a ship-wide channel. "This is the captain. It has been an honor serving with all of you. Tell the story of what we did here. Tell them that humanity stands for something. Tell them we don't abandon our friends." As the Perseverance began its death dive toward the Voran fleet, every human on board sang. It was an old song from Earth, one that soldiers had sung in 1,000 wars. A song about standing together when all hope was gone, about fighting for something bigger than yourself. The Coalition observers watched in stunned silence. They were watching 3,000 people choose to die rather than abandon a world they had known for less than a week. "They're insane," whispered Junior Observer Tellus. "No," said Commander Yalish. "They're human, and we should have been here with them from the start." She opened a communication channel to the Coalition fleet that was still hours away. "This is Commander Yalish at Monitoring Station 7. I am transmitting the coordinates of the battle at HFY. If you don't get there in time to save these humans, we will have failed something important. We will have failed ourselves." Then she watched as the Perseverance, burning and broken, dove toward the enemy fleet like a falling star. And just as it seemed all was lost, sensors detected new FTL signatures. Lots of them. The Coalition had arrived. The Coalition fleet materialized in a perfect battle formation, 50 warships strong. They were ships from a dozen different species, each one armed with weapons that had defended the galaxy for centuries. At their head was the battlecruiser Unity's Voice, commanded by Admiral Kelleth of the Aurelian military. The Admiral looked at his tactical display and saw the Perseverance falling toward the Voran fleet, trailing fire and debris. He saw the human colony ship, dying but defiant, still trying to protect the world below. All ships engage the Voran fleet. Fire at will. Show them that the Coalition protects those under our watch. He paused. And show those humans they're not alone anymore. The Coalition weapons opened fire and space lit up with energy beams and missile trails. The Voran fleet, surprised by the sudden appearance of reinforcements, tried to regroup. But they were caught between the dying Perseverance and the fresh Coalition forces. The battle turned into chaos. On the bridge of the Perseverance, Captain Chen watched the Coalition ships tear into the Voran formation. Relief and disbelief warred in her chest. "Helm, pull up. Emergency power to attitude thrusters. Get us level." "I don't know if we can, Captain. Half our systems are gone." "Try anyway. We didn't come all this way just to crash into the ocean." The crew worked desperately. The ship groaned and shuddered, metal screaming under stress. But slowly, impossibly, the Perseverance began to level out. It fell toward HFY's surface in a barely controlled descent, engines sputtering but no longer on a collision course with the Voran fleet. "Brace for impact," Sarah shouted. "This is going to be rough." The Perseverance hit the ocean 10 kilometers from the Kashyyyk city. The impact broke the ship in half, but the forward section stayed intact. Emergency systems kicked in, sealing bulkheads, keeping the water out. The crew was battered and bruised but alive. In orbit, the Coalition fleet drove the Voran ships back. Admiral Kelleth coordinated the assault with practiced precision. Within 2 hours, the remaining Voran vessels jumped to FTL and fled, leaving their ground forces stranded. On the surface, Marcus and his Marines emerged from the tunnels to find the Voran soldiers in disarray. Without the hive mind's direct control from the ships above, the drones were confused and slow. It was almost easy to finish them off. When the last Voran soldier fell, Marcus sat down on a pile of rubble and took off his helmet. His face was covered in dirt and dried blood. His armor was scorched and dented. But he was smiling. "We did it," said Corporal Yamamoto, sitting next to him. "We actually did it." "Never doubted it for a second," Marcus lied. They both laughed, too tired to care. Cachette children began emerging from the shelters, looking around at the destroyed city and the strange aliens who had saved them. Pyrrha ran to Marcus and hugged his armored leg. He patted her head gently, careful not to hurt her with his gauntlets. "Thank you," she said in her small voice. "Thank you for staying." Marcus felt something tight in his chest. "Anytime, kid, anytime." 3 days later, Coalition medical ships and supply vessels filled the orbit around Cachette Fo. Engineers worked to pull the Perseverance's sections from the ocean and assess if the ship could be repaired. The answer was no, but the humans didn't seem to care. They were too busy helping the Cachette rebuild their city. High Counselor Vereth landed at the makeshift spaceport and requested a meeting with Captain Chen. He found her in what used to be a Cachette school, now converted into a coordination center for reconstruction efforts. Sarah was planning housing for refugees when the counselor arrived. She stood and offered a tired salute. "Counselor, thank you for coming. And thank you for the support. You saved a lot of lives." "No, Captain. You saved them. We merely helped finish what you started." Verath looked around at the humans and Cachette working side by side, clearing rubble, building shelters, treating the wounded. "I came to formally apologize on behalf of the Coalition. We received the same distress call you did. We had the resources to help, but we chose not to act. We let fear guide our decisions, and then you came anyway. That takes courage, too. Your words shamed us into action. Without you, we would have let these people die." Vereth pulled out a data tablet. "The Coalition Council has voted unanimously to offer Earth membership in the Coalition, along with full trading rights and access to our technology database. We would be honored to count humanity among our members." Sarah took the tablet but didn't look at it. "I'll have to send this to Earth and let them decide. But Counselor, I need you to understand something. We didn't do this for trade deals or technology or membership. We did it because it was right. I know. That's why we want you to join us. The Coalition has grown comfortable, complacent. We've forgotten what it means to stand for something." "You reminded us." Verath gestured to the window where Cachette and humans worked together. "You've also created quite a problem. Every species in the Coalition is asking questions now. Why did unknown aliens care more about Cachette 4 than we did? What does it say about us that primitives from an uncontacted world showed more courage than our fleets?" "We're not primitives," Sarah said with a slight smile. "We're just new to the neighborhood." "Fair enough. There's another matter. The battle cost you dearly. Our count shows 847 human casualties, dead defending a world they'd known for less than a week." Sarah felt the weight of those numbers. 847 people. She knew every name, every face. They died heroes. We'll make sure their families know that. The Cachette people are asking permission to hold a memorial service. They want to honor your dead according to both human and Cachette traditions. They want to make sure your people are remembered. That would be good. Thank you." The memorial was held in the ruins of the Central Plaza. The Cachette had built a monument from pieces of the destroyed city, a sculpture showing humans and Cachette standing together. Around it, they planted trees from both worlds, seeds brought from Earth on the Perseverance and native Cachette specimens. Elder Priest Makthar spoke first, his words translated for the humans. "We called into the darkness expecting no answer. We prayed for salvation expecting none. But you came. You strange, fierce, beautiful people from a world we had never heard of. You bled for us. You died for us, and we will never forget." Then Captain Chen spoke, her voice steady despite the tears on her face. "We lost 847 people here, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, friends and lovers. They were colonists who wanted to build a new world, not soldiers looking for glory. But when they heard people crying for help, they didn't hesitate. They showed the best of what humanity can be. They showed that strength without compassion is just cruelty, but compassion without strength is just words. They had both." She looked at the Cachette gathered around the monument. "You asked why we came. Because you needed us. That's all. That's everything. Where we come from, we have a saying, we leave no one behind. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien, friend or stranger. If you need help, we answer. That's the promise humanity makes to the galaxy. The ceremony ended with both species honoring their dead in their own ways. The humans sang their soldier songs. The Crusade performed their funeral dance. And somehow it fit together, two different people united by shared grief and hope. 1 year later, the planet formerly known as Crusade had a new name in human languages: Remembrance. The Crusade kept their own name for it, but they understood what the humans meant. This was the place where the galaxy changed. The human colony that was supposed to settle elsewhere decided to stay. They rebuilt the cities alongside the Crusade, creating something new, a world where two species lived and worked together. It became a symbol across the coalition, proof that different peoples could unite for something greater. The Perseverance was beyond repair, but its hull sections were converted into monuments and museums. Children from dozens of species came to see the ship that had stood against impossible odds. On Earth, humanity received the Coalition's invitation and accepted, but they made it clear that membership came with conditions. If the Coalition received distress calls, they would answer them. All of them. No more debates about whether it was safe or profitable or convenient. The galaxy agreed. The humans had taught them something important. Marcus stayed on Remembrance, training both human and Crusade in defensive tactics. He adopted Pyrrha after her parents died in the battle, raising her as his own daughter. She grew up speaking both languages, belonging to both cultures, a living bridge between two worlds. One evening, Marcus found her looking at the stars. She was 14 now, tall and confident, wearing the mixed clothing styles of both her peoples. "Thinking about your parents?" he asked gently. "Thinking about that day, when you came down from the sky." She looked at him. "Why did you stay, Marcus? You could have left when the battle was over, gone to another colony world." Marcus thought about it. "Because this is home now." "Your home. Sometimes you don't choose where you belong. It chooses you." "Is that a human saying?" "It is now." He put his arm around her shoulders. "Come on. Your homework isn't going to do itself. Can I use the excuse that I saved humanity from educational boredom?" "Nice try. Inside, now." As they walked back to their home, the monument in the plaza caught the setting sun. On it, written in both human and Crusade languages, was a simple message. They thought the SOS was lost, that no one heard their cry. But the galaxy learned that day, as long as one human draws breath, no call for help goes unanswered. This is the promise. This is the oath. We leave no one behind. Across the Coalition, on 100 worlds, people looked at those words and felt something shift inside them. The humans had changed the galaxy not through conquest or technology, but through something simpler and more profound. They had showed everyone what it meant to care, and the galaxy would never be the same. High in orbit, Coalition patrol ships kept watch over Remembrance, not because the humans needed protection anymore, but because this world mattered. It was where they had all learned to be better. It was where they learned that sometimes the scariest thing in the universe isn't a Deathworld predator. It's a Deathworld predator who refuses to let you face the darkness alone. The massive alien ship appeared suddenly at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, a dark shape against the stars that blocked out the light from distant suns. Soon, more ships joined it. 10, 20, 50, until 100 enormous vessels floated in space, waiting. Commander Joe Miller stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant and watched the main screen with narrow eyes. At 45, Joe had spent most of his life in space, but he had never seen anything like this. His short brown hair was going gray at the temples, and the lines around his eyes deepened as he frowned. "How many are there now?" he asked. Lieutenant Wendy Parker looked up from her console. 103, sir, and they're still coming." Joe nodded slowly. Earth had known this day would come. Humans had been exploring nearby star systems for almost 50 years. It was only a matter of time before one of the older alien races noticed them. "Any messages?" he asked. "Nothing yet, sir," said Communications Officer Gary White. "They're just watching." The door to the bridge slid open and Admiral Susan Green walked in. Everyone straightened in their seats. At 60, Susan was the most respected officer in Earth's fleet. Her silver hair was cut short, and her blue uniform was perfectly pressed. She had fought in the Mars Rebellion and had more combat experience. than anyone else in the service. Status report, she said. Joe turned to face her. 103 alien vessels at the edge of the system, Admiral. No communication yet. Susan's face remained calm, but Joe knew her well enough to see the worry in her eyes. Earth's total defense fleet consisted of just 12 ships. The Defiant was the largest, and it was only a quarter of the size of the smallest alien vessel they could see on the screen. Open a channel, Susan ordered. All frequencies, let's introduce ourselves. Gary's fingers moved across his console. Channel open, Admiral. Susan stepped forward. This is Admiral Susan Green of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your people. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but everyone on the bridge heard its words in perfect English. I am High Commander Zex of the Galactic Concord. We have been observing your world for some time. Your species has developed faster than expected. Joe felt a chill run down his spine. They had been watching Earth? For how long? Susan showed no reaction. We are pleased to make contact with the Galactic Concord. We hope this will be the beginning of peaceful relations between our peoples. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Peace is possible, but it comes with conditions. The Concord has ruled this sector of the galaxy for 10,000 years. All intelligent species must join under our leadership or face the consequences. We would be interested in learning more about joining your Concord, Susan said carefully. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting to discuss terms. The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. Very well. We will send a delegation to your world in 24 hours. Prepare your leaders. The screen went black. Gary looked up from his console. They've closed the channel, Admiral. Susan turned to Joe. What do you think, Commander? Joe shook his head. I don't like it. They don't seem interested in equal relations, and they've been watching us without making contact. That's not a good sign. I agree, Susan said. Alert all Earth Defense Force ships. I want everyone at battle stations, and contact Earth Central Command. The President needs to know what's happening. 24 hours later, Joe stood in the great meeting hall of the United Earth Government in Geneva. The room was filled with people, the President, her cabinet, military leaders, and scientists. At the center of the room, a delegation of 5 aliens stood on a raised platform. High Commander Zex spoke in that same perfect English. The terms of joining the Galactic Concord are simple. You will accept our governors on your world. You will pay a resource tax of 30% of all production. You will provide soldiers for the Concord military when required. In return, you will receive protection and limited access to Concord technology. President Laura Mitchell frowned. At 65, she had led Earth through difficult times before, but nothing like this. These terms seem very one-sided, High Commander. Earth would lose its independence. You misunderstand, said Zex. This is not a negotiation. These are the terms for all new species. The alternative is war, and while we respect your accomplishments, your military capability is insufficient. A hologram appeared above the platform showing Earth's 12 defense ships. Next to them, the 100 alien vessels looked impossibly large. We have scanned your vessels, Zex continued. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons would not penetrate our shields. Your small fleet would be destroyed in minutes. Joe felt anger rising in his chest. He glanced at Susan, who stood perfectly still, her face showing nothing. President Mitchell spoke carefully. We would need time to consider these terms. Our government must vote on such an important decision. Zex made that strange laughing sound again. You have 48 hours. If you have not accepted our terms by then, we will demonstrate our power in a way you cannot ignore. After the aliens left, the room erupted in voices. Some wanted to surrender, arguing that Earth couldn't possibly win a war against such advanced aliens. Others insisted they should fight, even if it meant destruction. Joe found himself standing next to Susan near a window that looked out over Lake Geneva. They're going to attack no matter what we decide, Joe said quietly. I saw it in their eyes. They don't respect us. Susan nodded. They've done this before, many times. They find a new species, intimidate them with their big ships and advanced technology, and then take over. So what do? Our fleet is tiny compared to theirs. For the first time that day, Susan smiled. It was a small, dangerous smile that didn't reach her eyes. They're judging us by the size of our ships, Joe. That's their mistake. She turned to look at him directly. Did you notice how confident they were after scanning our vessels? They think they know everything about our capabilities. Joe began to understand. They only see what we want them to see. Susan nodded. Exactly. Project Shadowfall has been our best-kept secret for 15 years. Those 12 ships aren't our real defense force. They're just what we let the rest of the galaxy see. Joe felt a surge of hope. Project Shadowfall. The hidden fleet. The advanced weapon systems, the technology that Earth's best scientists had developed in secret, knowing this day would come. They laughed at our small fleet, said Susan, her voice hardening. Let's see if they're still laughing when they find out what humanity is really capable of. After the meeting with the aliens, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure underground facility beneath Geneva. The room was plain with metal walls and a large round table. Maps and screens covered the walls, showing Earth's defenses and the alien fleet's position. President Laura Mitchell stood at the head of the table. We have less than 48 hours to prepare. Admiral Green, tell us about Project Shadowfall. Admiral Susan Green nodded and pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared, showing what looked like ordinary asteroids throughout the solar system. For 15 years we've been building our real fleet in secret, Susan explained. These aren't asteroids. They're disguised shipyards and weapon platforms. We have 50 ships, not 12, and they're equipped with technology we developed after studying the alien crash site in Arizona 30 years ago. Commander Joe Miller watched the faces around the table. Some showed surprise, others relief. Not everyone had known about the secret fleet. Why keep this secret from our own people? Asked the Chinese representative. Because the Conquered has been watching us, Susan replied. They have spies and observation posts. We needed them to underestimate us. Now that strategy will pay off. Joe stepped forward. There's more. Our visible ships are equipped with older technology, but underneath they're carrying weapon systems the aliens won't expect. President Mitchell looked around the table. We need to make a decision. Do we pretend to accept their terms and then fight later, or do we stand up to them now? Defense Secretary Bill Howard shook his head. If we pretend to surrender, they'll establish bases on Earth. It would be harder to fight them then. I agree, said Susan. We need to face them now, while they still think we're weak. Their overconfidence is our advantage. President Mitchell took a deep breath. Then we fight. Admiral Green, you have command of all Earth forces. What's your plan? Susan smiled. We're going to give them exactly what they expect, at first. For the next 24 hours, every military base on Earth buzzed with activity. But nothing was visible from space. The aliens would see only what appeared to be a planet preparing to surrender. In a hidden base inside the moon, Captain Olivia Carter supervised final preparations for the lunar defense batteries. These massive guns had been built in secret over the past decade. From the outside, they looked like ordinary craters. Power systems at 100%, reported a young engineer named Rick Davis. Olivia nodded. Good. Keep them powered down until we get the signal. We don't want the aliens detecting our energy signature. Meanwhile, on the USS Defiant, Joe worked with his crew to prepare for battle. The ship's real weapons remained hidden behind false panels and shields that blocked alien scans. How are the quantum torpedoes? Joe asked his weapons officer, Tim Nelson. Ready to go, sir, Tim replied. The aliens won't see them coming. Their scans show we only have standard missiles. Joe checked his watch, 20 hours until the deadline. He wondered if the aliens were preparing for battle, or if they really believed Earth would surrender. On the far side of the moon, Lieutenant Frank Nelson led a team of pilots through final simulations. Their ships were small and fast, designed to attack the weak points of larger vessels. Remember, Frank told his pilots, their ships are powerful but slow to turn. Use your speed. Get in close where their big weapons can't target you. One pilot, a young woman named Lisa Chen, raised her hand. What if their technology is more advanced than we think? What if our weapons don't work against them? Frank nodded. It was a good question. That's why we have multiple attack plans. If one fails, we switch to another. Humans are adaptable. That's our greatest strength. At Mission Control in Houston, Director Mary Wilson studied the latest scan data from the alien fleet. Look at this, she said to her team, pointing at a screen. Their ships have a weak spot where the main power conduits connect to the engines. If we can hit them there with our phase disruptors, we might be able to disable them without destroying them. Her assistant, a brilliant young scientist named Alex Rodriguez, looked excited. That would give us a chance to capture their technology intact. Mary nodded. Exactly. Send this data to Admiral Green immediately. As the deadline approached, tension grew. People around the world waited anxiously in their homes. Some prayed, others prepared for the worst. Despite government reassurances, many feared this would be humanity's last day. 6 hours before the deadline, Joe was called to an emergency meeting on the Defiant. Admiral Green had received new intelligence. The aliens are planning to attack. Early, Susan told the assembled officers. They don't believe we'll surrender, so they're going to hit us before the deadline to catch us unprepared. Joe wasn't surprised. How much time do we have? 2 hours, maybe less, Susan replied. They're moving their fleet into attack position now. On the main screen, they could see the alien vessels spreading out, preparing to enter Earth's inner solar system. Should we launch our hidden fleet now? Asked Captain Steve Jackson of the USS Intrepid. Susan shook her head. Not yet. Let them commit to their attack first. We need them to believe their plan is working. Joe understood the strategy. If Earth revealed its true strength too soon, the aliens might pull back and return with an even larger force. They needed to trap the conquered fleet and deal them a decisive blow. All ships prepare for combat, Susan ordered. But remember, show only your visible weapons until I give the signal. Let them think they're winning. Joe returned to his ship and addressed his crew. The aliens are coming earlier than expected. They think we're weak and unprepared. They're laughing at our small fleet. He paused, looking at the determined faces before him. But they don't know what humanity is capable of when our backs are against the wall. Today we show them. Throughout the solar system, hidden ships powered up their engines. Inside the moon, massive guns silently turned toward their targets. On Earth, missile silos disguised as farms and factories prepared to launch. In space, the alien fleet moved closer, their massive ships dwarfing Earth's visible defenses. They were confident, expecting an easy victory against a primitive species. They had no idea what was waiting for them. High Commander Zex stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched Earth's pitiful fleet on the main screen. Begin the attack, he ordered. Show them the price of defiance. The first alien weapons fired, powerful energy beams streaming toward Earth's ships. The battle for humanity's future had begun. The alien energy beams cut through space toward Earth's ships. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Commander Joe Miller gripped the arms of his chair. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered calmly, just like we practiced. The Defiant swerved, barely avoiding the deadly beam. Around it, the other 11 Earth ships did the same, moving in patterns that seemed random but were carefully planned. Return fire, Joe said. Conventional weapons only. Earth's ships fired missiles that looked ordinary but contained special tracking systems. Most were shot down by alien defenses, but a few hit their targets. The explosions were small, barely damaging the massive alien ships. On his flagship, High Commander Zex laughed. Is this the best they can do? Their weapons are like toys against our shields. His second-in-command, a blue-skinned alien named Krell, nodded. They are primitive. This will be over quickly. Zex leaned forward. Target their largest vessel. Let's show them our power. A massive energy beam shot from the alien flagship toward the Defiant. It hit directly and the ship shuddered. Damage report, Joe shouted over the sound of alarms. Lieutenant Wendy Parker checked her console. Outer hull damaged, sir. Shields at 60%. Make it look worse, Joe ordered. Vent some atmosphere. Let them think they've hurt us badly. Clouds of gas escaped from the Defiant, making it appear seriously damaged. The aliens took the bait. Their flagship is crippled, Krell reported to Zex. Shall we finish it? No, Zex replied. Let it suffer. Target their other vessels. Destroy them one by one while their leader watches. The alien fleet spread out, firing at Earth's small fleet from all directions. The human ships dodged and weaved, occasionally taking hits that looked worse than they really were. Admiral Susan Green watched from a hidden command center inside the moon. They're completely focused on our visible fleet, she said. It's time for Phase 2. Commander Miller, are you ready? Joe's voice came through clearly. Ready, Admiral. The Defiant is wounded but operational. Good, Susan said. Commander Foster, begin your approach. Hidden behind Mars, Commander Alan Foster and 3 small Earth ships powered up their engines. These vessels had been waiting silently, concealed by the red planet's magnetic field. All ships activate stealth systems, Alan ordered. Target the rear of their fleet. Hit their communication arrays first. The 3 ships moved swiftly toward the aliens, completely invisible to their scanners. Each carried special EMP missiles designed to disable rather than destroy. As the main battle continued near Earth, Alan's ships approached the rear of the alien fleet. Fire, he commanded. The EMP missiles streaked silently through space and hit 5 alien ships before anyone noticed. Suddenly, communication systems went dead across those vessels. They couldn't call for help or coordinate with the rest of the fleet. On his flagship, Zex frowned as status reports stopped coming in from several ships. What's happening? Krell looked confused. We've lost contact with 5 vessels, Commander. They're not responding to signals. How is this possible? Zex demanded. Scan the area, find what's attacking them. But the stealth technology on Alan's ships was working perfectly. The aliens couldn't see what was hitting them. Alan's voice came through Susan's communication system. First strike successful, Admiral. 5 enemy ships disabled. Moving to secondary targets. Susan nodded. Well done. Lieutenant Brown, you're up next. Lieutenant Kate Brown sat in the cockpit of her small stealth ship, the Mosquito. It was tiny, compared to the alien vessels, but extremely fast and agile, and it carried a weapon the aliens had never seen before. Roger that, Admiral, Kate replied. Beginning my run now. Kate piloted the Mosquito between 2 massive alien ships. They were so focused on the battle ahead that they didn't notice her approach. When she was in position, she released her payload. Millions of microscopic nanites programmed to eat through alien hull metal. The tiny machines attached themselves to the alien ships and began their work, burrowing through the outer hull like invisible termites. Alarms began to sound throughout the affected vessels as air started to escape through thousands of tiny holes. We're losing pressure in sections 12 through 20, an alien officer shouted to Krell. Something is penetrating our hull. Krell stared at the readings in disbelief. This is impossible. There's nothing there. On another part of the battlefield, one of Earth's visible ships took a direct hit and exploded in a ball of fire. The aliens cheered, believing they were winning. They didn't realize the crew had already evacuated to a stealth vessel hiding nearby. One of their ships destroyed, Krell reported. 11 remaining. Zex nodded in satisfaction. Continue the attack. They can't hold out much longer. But strange things were happening throughout the alien fleet. Ships were losing power. Communications were failing. Holes appeared in hulls with no explanation, and still they couldn't see what was attacking them. Susan watched the battle from her command center. They're confused, she said. It's time for Phase 3. Captain Carter, power up the lunar batteries. Inside the moon, Captain Olivia Carter gave the order. All batteries online. Target the alien flagship. Massive guns hidden in lunar craters emerged from their hiding places. They had been disguised as natural features, invisible to alien scans. Now they revealed themselves, turning toward the alien fleet. Fire, Olivia ordered. Energy beams shot from the moon's surface, more powerful than anything the aliens had seen from Earth's ships. They cut through space and hit the alien flagship, penetrating its shields as if they weren't there. On his bridge, Zex was thrown to the floor as his ship shook violently. "What was that?" he shouted. Krell stared at the viewscreen in shock. "The attack came from their moon. They have weapons hidden there." Zex couldn't believe it. They had scanned the moon thoroughly before the battle. There had been no signs of weapons. How had the humans hidden them? As the lunar batteries continued firing, Admiral Susan Green gave the order they had all been waiting for. "All hidden vessels, reveal yourselves. Attack pattern Omega. Let's show them what humanity's fleet can really do." Throughout the solar system, what had appeared to be asteroids and space debris suddenly changed. 50 warships, each armed with advanced weapons, appeared as if from nowhere. They had been there all along, watching and waiting. The aliens stared at their screens in shock as Earth's true fleet revealed itself. The small fleet they had laughed at was just a decoy. The real battle was about to begin. High Commander Zex stared at the viewscreen in disbelief. Where there had been empty space moments before, 50 Earth warships now appeared. They had been invisible to alien scanners until now. "Impossible," Zex whispered. "How did they hide an entire fleet?" His second-in-command, Krell's blue skin, had turned pale. "Commander, we're surrounded." It was true. Earth's hidden ships had taken position all around the alien fleet. The hunters had become the hunted. Admiral Susan Green's voice came through, on all communication channels, even the alien ones. "This is Admiral Green of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now." Zex slammed his fist on the control panel. "Never. The Galactic Concord does not surrender to primitives. All ships, full attack." The alien vessels turned to face the new threat, firing their powerful weapons at Earth's revealed fleet. But the human ships were faster and more agile than they expected. They moved in complex patterns, dodging the alien fire while launching their own attacks. On the USS Defiant, Commander Joe Miller watched the battle unfold. "Status report on the alien flagship?" Lieutenant Wendy Parker studied her console. "Their shields are weakened from the lunar battery strike. They're vulnerable, sir." Joe nodded. "Target their engines. Fire quantum torpedoes." Hidden compartments on the Defiant's hull slid open, revealing weapons the aliens hadn't detected in their scans. Bright blue torpedoes shot out, moving so fast they were almost invisible. They hit the alien flagship's engines in a series of explosions that rocked the massive vessel. On his ship, Zex struggled to stay on his feet as systems failed around him. "Return fire! Destroy that ship!" But the Defiant was already moving away, too quick for the alien gunners to target. Throughout the battlefield, Earth's ships attacked with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Lieutenant Frank Nelson led a squadron of small, fast fighters that darted between the massive alien vessels. Their ships were too small for the aliens' main weapons to target effectively. "Stay in their blind spots," Frank ordered his pilots. "Target their weapon arrays and communication systems." The fighters flew in patterns that confused the alien gunners. They fired precise shots that disabled key systems rather than trying to destroy the massive ships entirely. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kate Brown's nanites continued their work, eating through hull plating on several alien vessels. Atmosphere vented into space, forcing the aliens to seal off sections of their ships. Some vessels were now operating with only half their crew stations manned. "Admiral," Kate reported, "nanite deployment successful on 7 enemy ships. Their hulls are compromised." Susan nodded. "Good work, Lieutenant. Continue the attack." From the lunar base, Captain Olivia Carter directed the massive defense batteries. Each shot was carefully aimed at alien shield generators and weapon systems. "Battery 3, target the ship at coordinates 227 by 184, she ordered. "Battery 5, hit the one trying to retreat." Energy beams shot from the moon's surface, striking with precision that shocked the aliens. Their ships, thought to be invulnerable, were being disabled one by one. On the battlefield, the tide was turning. 3 alien ships had been completely disabled, their engines and weapons destroyed. Several more were damaged and struggling to fight back. The Earth fleet moved with coordination that seemed impossible for a primitive species. In his command center on the alien flagship, Zex couldn't understand what was happening. How are they doing this? Their technology shouldn't be this advanced. Krell shook his head. They deceived us, Commander. They showed us only what they wanted us to see. No, Zex shouted. I won't be defeated by these humans. Prepare the gravity weapon. Krell looked alarmed. But Commander, using that in such close quarters could affect our own ships. I don't care. Do it now. In the center of the alien flagship, a massive device powered up. It was designed to create a gravity distortion field that would crush enemy ships like tin cans. It was a weapon of last resort, dangerous to use in the middle of a space battle where friendly ships might be caught in its effect. On the Defiant, Joe's sensors detected the power buildup. Admiral, they're activating some kind of gravity weapon. Energy readings are off the charts. Susan's voice remained calm. This is what we expected. They always use this weapon when they're losing. Commander Miller, initiate countermeasures. Joe turned to his engineering officer, Dan Rogers. Activate the gravity shields. Dan pressed a sequence of buttons on his console. Gravity shields. Online, sir. All ships in the fleet have acknowledged the order. The alien gravity weapon fired, creating a wave of distorted spacetime that spread outward from their flagship. It was designed to compress matter, crushing any ship caught in its field. But as the wave hit Earth's vessels, something unexpected happened. Instead of being crushed, the human ships activated their own gravity manipulation technology. They not only resisted the weapon's effects, but redirected the energy back toward the alien fleet. On his flagship, Zex watched in horror as 3 of his own ships were caught in the reflected gravity wave. They imploded, crushed by their own weapon. How? He gasped. That's impossible. They can't have gravity manipulation technology. They're not advanced enough. But the evidence was right in front of him. Somehow these humans had developed technology that the Conquered thought was beyond them. Not only that, they had improved on it. Throughout the solar system, the battle continued to turn in Earth's favor. The alien ships, so confident at the start, were now fighting desperately just to survive. Their formations broke apart as each captain tried to save his own vessel. Susan watched from her command center, her face showing no emotion. They're beginning to retreat. Cut off their escape routes. I want their flagship isolated. Earth's fleet moved with precision, surrounding the alien flagship while preventing the other ships from coming to its aid. The lunar batteries continued firing, targeting any alien vessel that tried to approach. On the Defiant, Joe received new orders from Admiral Green. Commander Miller, prepare a boarding party. We're taking their flagship. Joe nodded. Yes, Admiral. He turned to his security chief. Major Ryan Bell, assemble your team, full combat gear. Major Bell, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, nodded. Yes, sir, we're ready. As the Defiant moved closer to the crippled alien flagship, Zex watched with growing dread. His mighty ship, once the pride of the Concorde fleet, was now powerless, its engines destroyed and weapons offline. How did it come to this? He asked no one in particular. How could we have been so wrong about them? Krell had no answer. They had underestimated the humans in every possible way. They had laughed at Earth's small fleet, never imagining it was just a decoy. Now they were about to pay the price for that mistake. On his console, a new alert appeared. Commander, Krell said, his voice shaking, they're preparing to board us. Major Ryan Bell led his boarding team through the dark corridors of the alien flagship. 20 soldiers in space armor moved quietly behind him, weapons ready. They had docked with the damaged alien ship 5 minutes ago. Stay alert, Ryan told his team. We don't know what we'll find in here. The inside of the alien ship was strange. The corridors were taller and wider than on human vessels. The lighting gave everything a blue glow. The air smelled different, but their suits filtered it so they could breathe safely. Meanwhile, another team had boarded the ship from a different direction. Captain Linda Cooper led a small group of computer specialists toward the alien command center. Their job wasn't to fight but to hack into the ship's systems. This way, Linda whispered, following directions on her wrist computer. The main computer should be 2 levels up. Her team moved through maintenance tunnels, avoiding alien crew members. They weren't there to engage in combat if they could avoid it. Their mission was too important. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Commander Joe Miller watched the operation on his screen. Status report on the boarding teams? Lieutenant Wendy Parker studied her console. Major Bell's team is approaching the bridge. Captain Cooper's team is nearly at the main computer core. No casualties so far. Joe nodded. Good. And the rest of the alien fleet? Still surrounded, sir. 5 ships have surrendered. The others are disabled or trying to retreat. Our fleet is in pursuit. In her command center inside the moon, Admiral Susan Green monitored all aspects of the battle. Earth's hidden fleet had performed better than even she had expected. The aliens were in full retreat, their mighty armada broken. Admiral, a communications officer reported, we're getting surrender signals from more alien ships. 7 more have powered down weapons. Susan allowed herself a small smile. Accept their surrender. Have our ships escort them to the holding position near Mars. Meanwhile, on the alien flagship, High Commander Zex prepared for his last stand. He and his bridge crew had sealed themselves in the command center. They had weapons and were determined to fight to the end. The humans will not take me alive, Zex told his officers. We will destroy this ship before allowing it to fall into their hands. His second-in-command, Krell, looked uncertain. Is that necessary, Commander? Perhaps we should— Silence, Zex shouted. The Concorde does not surrender. Begin the self-destruct. Sequence. An alien officer moved to a control panel, but before he could enter the commands, the doors to the bridge slid open. Major Ryan Bell and his team rushed in, weapons aimed at the alien crew. Don't move, Ryan ordered. Hands where we can see them. The alien officers froze, surprised by the sudden appearance of the humans. Zex reached for a weapon, but Ryan was faster. A stun blast hit the alien commander, and he collapsed to the floor. Bridge secured, Ryan reported into his communicator. The alien commander is down but alive. We've captured the bridge crew. At the same time, Captain Linda Cooper and her team reached the ship's main computer core. It was a massive room filled with glowing blue columns that pulsed with energy. Start the hack, Linda ordered. Remember the priority targets: weapons, systems, ship schematics, and fleet deployment data. Her team connected their devices to the alien computer system. They had spent years preparing for this moment, studying the bits of alien technology that had been recovered from crashed scout ships. Now they were putting that knowledge to use. I'm in, said tech specialist Jack Wilson. Their security is complex but exactly what we expected. Downloading ship schematics now. Another specialist, Karen Adams, worked on a different console. I've accessed their fleet records. The Concorde has thousands of ships, but most are spread thin across their territory. This was one of their largest attack groups. Linda nodded. Keep going. Download everything you can. Meanwhile, throughout the solar system, the battle was ending. The remaining alien ships had either surrendered or been disabled. Earth's fleet surrounded them, weapons still ready in case of treachery. On the Defiant, Joe received reports from all sectors. All alien ships accounted for, sir. 12 destroyed, 45 captured, the rest disabled. He could hardly believe it. They had won. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. In her command center, Admiral Susan Green prepared to address the people of Earth. Camera drones floated in front of her as billions of people waited for news of the battle. People of Earth, she began, her voice calm and steady. Today we faced an alien force that sought to conquer our world. They came with a mighty fleet, believing we would be easy to defeat. They laughed at what they thought was our small defense force. She paused, allowing herself a slight smile. They're not laughing anymore. The alien fleet has been defeated. Some of their ships were destroyed, but most have surrendered. Earth is safe. Cheers erupted around the world as people celebrated the news. In cities and towns, in homes and public spaces, humans embraced each other with relief and joy. 2 days later, a formal surrender ceremony was held aboard the USS Defiant. High Commander Zex, now a prisoner, was brought before Admiral Green. Earth's military leaders and government officials watched as the alien commander was forced to kneel. Sign the surrender document, Susan ordered, her voice cold. Zex looked up at her with hatred in his large black eyes. How? How did you defeat us? Your technology shouldn't be this advanced. We monitored your world for decades. Susan smiled. Slightly. That was your mistake. You thought you knew us, but you only saw what we wanted you to see. Humanity has always been good at adapting, at finding creative solutions to problems. When we discovered your observation posts 20 years ago, we didn't destroy them. We fed them false information. Impossible, Zex whispered. While you watched our decoy fleet, we built our real forces in secret, Susan continued. We studied the alien technology from crashed scout ships. We improved upon it. Everything we did was with this day in mind. She leaned closer to the alien. Commander, remember this lesson. Never judge a species by the size of its fleet. Zex reluctantly signed the surrender document. The Galactic Concord had suffered its first major defeat in thousands of years. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to study the captured alien ships. The technology they contained would advance Earth science by centuries. Already, engineers were designing new ships that combined human innovation with alien tech. On the observation deck of the Defiant, Joe stood beside Susan, looking out at the stars. What happens now? He asked. Susan's expression was determined. Now we prepare. The Concord will return eventually with a bigger fleet. But we'll be ready, and next time they won't underestimate us. Joe nodded. Humanity had won its first interstellar battle. The galaxy now knew that Earth was not an easy target. The stars, once a mystery, were now a frontier, one that humanity would face with the same courage and ingenuity that had saved them today. They had been laughed at. They had been underestimated. They had won.